Good afternoon, good evening, whatever you want to call it. All 49ers show. Grant Cohn, Jose Sanchez. Combine week, free agency coming up. It's time to look forward. It's time to see what the Niners are going to do next and how they're going to win the Super Bowl. But first is controversy. Kyle Shanahan didn't go to the Combine again. Is this a big deal?
You know what? I hadn't really been thinking it was a big deal. I was like, who cares, right? Because he's not a big draft person. He's literally admitted it. Like every time he goes, what is it, the post-draft conference, right? When you guys go to it, he just says, like, I'm just glad I'm going to watch 2 months of film. And it's like, well, yeah, it shows you how much you care about this. But I feel like, if Andy Reid goes, if Bill Belichick is always gone, if all these, coaches of pedigree have gone, why aren't you going? Like, why aren't you going? Like, I really think about it. You think all these coaches that go, and it's like, why aren't you going? Like, I don't understand it. Like, I get it. Like, you go to the Combine, that's not necessarily going to make you swing heavily towards one direction of a player dramatically, but at least like go out there, go talk to some players, maybe get like a feel of it. Go be with John Lynch, with your coaching staff. Or I don't know if your coaching staff's out there, but like your scouts, your personnel, your front office people. Go out there, go see what the talks are, because ultimately it's not even just that, right? It's like mingling about trades. Maybe people are going to be talking about an Aiyuk or whoever. But yeah, you think about it, it's like, why is Andy's literally 2-3 weeks removed from winning the Super Bowl against you, and you're not there? Like,
yeah.
What?
Yeah, if it's good enough for Andy Reid to go, why aren't you going? And I think that's another thing that kind of kills me about this Niners team, or Kyle in general, is just the lack of humility. Why is your way the best way to do it? You haven't won a Super Bowl. Andy Reid beating you twice. Aren't you going to? It's a copycat league. You haven't drafted well the last 2 years. You're the most important person in the organization. It seems like you're over here asking for players like Cam Latu and Trey Sermon and Ty Davis Price. Maybe if you had gone to the Combine. I don't know.
Where did he stop going? After pretty much once COVID started, right? Because he went that 2019 year, right? Going into 2019. Yeah. And I think COVID obviously was dead, right? 2021. I think 2021 was when he stopped going, right? Officially.
Yeah.
It's not just him though. It's like all his underlings: Robert Saleh, Sean McVay. But at least McVay has a Super Bowl ring to it.
Mike McDaniel went. I don't know. Saleh didn't go. I get it, but and I guess they would say, it's just a bunch of whatever, information you can get. You don't have to be there. I don't know. It's a bad look. I would do whatever Andy Reid did.
LaFleur didn't go. Packers head coach. Oh, that's just something I was thinking about. This, just like, why isn't he there? Like, dude, like, don't go over there. So, like, the Chiefs should be the team that shouldn't really be there. Like, he has every reason. Like, why aren't you there? And in a case where your drafts, like, you hit the nail on the head, where your drafts have been pretty myth for the most part for the last 2 years. Like, really, who's really like 3 prospects you can tout about the last 2 years? Jair Brown, Brock Purdy. Which, how much credit do you really guys get on that? It kind of felt like a flyer. You guys didn't know he was going to be that, but I guess, sure, let's give him Brock Purdy. Aaron Banks 3 years ago. Dude, am I missing someone? I can't think of anyone else. Like,
the last 2 years is Jair Brown and Brock Purdy. The last 2 years.
You have all these players you drafted: Tariq Castro Fields, these other corners, Womack, like Luke,
Drake Jackson,
Jackson with
Andy Gray.
Back lifts. It's just, oh my God, it's been. I'm not.
The story about how they got Danny Gray is crazy. Remember that? He was like, I was in Cabo and I ran into Sonny Dykes, and Sonny Dykes said he's really good. So Sonny said it. It's like,
this is why I would like if he goes there. Like, you just go to the players, just go chop it up with them, go burn down with them, go figure it out, go get the feel of the nature, because sometimes it's what is it when you're drafting players? It's not always just what you do on the field, right? It's a character guy. I want to see how this guy is, like, essentially. And I feel like you can probably get a good buzz. Now, maybe they like it better for the pro days, right? Because you remember they went to, those Trey Lance's pro days, fields and stuff like that, those meetings where you can actually spend more than like those 8 to 12 minutes, I guess. But I just think you got to be going out there. Like, again, like the last 2 drafts have been whiffs, especially it's been bad for those last 2 drafts, not only because you haven't had a first round pick because of the Trey Lance trade, but you weren't able to supplement that in your later round hits. It hasn't been looking good. At some point, you have to hit ROI. That's where it felt lacking in the Super Bowl, right? That depth. It's like, man, your 3 to 4 or 5 best players like aren't really, being at their top A+ game. Where's the other rest coming from? And there wasn't really much to answer with.
Yeah. Until they start knocking out the draft again, it'd be a good look for the head coach to be there. I mean,
you look at Howard,
Chiefs
even
have
Howard
had some
Roseman.
incredible drafts recently, man. Trent McDuffie, Rasheed Rice.
Yeah,
Maybe I don't know. I'm not saying it's because Andy Reid's there, but
right.
they're doing everything that they can. The
Yeah, my
Niners aren't.
thing is just pretty much like, look, these guys are going. What makes you think you're too good for it? Like at this point, you need to desperately, there's opportunities here to figure out about these draft prospects that you desperately need for your long-term picture. Now, of course, you're not going to hit on everyone or even majority of them, but shoot, that could be the difference between an extra pick hit or two. And at this point, you need it. Like you guys need it.
Yeah, absolutely. Question number 2 for you. Now that the Niners have interviewed 4 candidates for the defensive coordinator role, who do you think the best option is?
Oh, look, I'm
Brandon Staley, Nick Sorensen, Dave Merritt, Daniel Bullocks.
Yeah, it's definitely not Brandon Staley, not for me. I already pretty much went on a nice little tangent a couple weeks ago. Keep him away. No thanks. Sorensen, wouldn't be my preference, but honestly, yeah, like those last 2 you just named, Merritt and Bullocks. Bullocks number 1, Merritt number 2, and then if you want to go like 1A, 1B, that's kind of how I'm looking at now. But yeah, Bullocks number 1 for me because he is the internal guy. I forever will think because he's been there since 2017. And even though you could bring in an exterior guy, an external guy to come in and like a Merritt, who would probably be good because he could probably look to Charvarius Ward to be that leader for him, to speak up for him. And I'm sure Ward would do that. Like, look, this guy is good people, good stuff. And look, Charvarius Ward, that whole Super Bowl 2 weeks leading up to the Super Bowl was praising nonstop the Chiefs, like how much he loves them, like those guys are the best and stuff like that. So if Merritt were to come, that'd be dope. But to me, I just think you have Bullocks coming in as the guy. He's going to have a whole crew just like backing him up. And if he does mess up, has like a 2-3 game rough stretch like Wilkes did, his players are going to go to bat for him. I think it's like, look, just give him time. It's fine. It's his first time ever doing it. No experience. We got to be better for him and he'll figure it out. Unlike before, right, with Wilkes, it'd be like Wilkes is not adjusted yet or so. Just that outsider perspective would easily kill that instantly by you hiring internally. And that's pretty much why they brought Wilkes down from the booth, because it wasn't because of any adjustments. It's like, hey, things aren't going so great. He needs to conform to us, not the other way around. So that's how it kind of looks at it.
Good point. It's not so he can communicate with the players. It's so they can communicate with him. That's a great point. He had great communication, but it was one-way communication, right? Do this. Yeah, now it's Kyle can look at him. Fred can look at him. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, so that's why I think it's that outsider look. And look, like say Bullocks wanted to go up there. You think they're going to say that to him? No, I don't think that, because again, they've been with this guy for 7-8 years now. He's been, and look, again, like I keep saying it, Deshaun Gibson said to me that he's a Kyle Shanahan guy through thick and thin. Like you could talk ball with him, and then out of nowhere, he'll just talk family or vice versa. And that's someone that's like, if that's like a defensive version of Kyle Shanahan, wouldn't that be like perfectly what Kyle's looking at to resonate with the players? Who, by the way, Kyle Shanahan got an A or A- for head coach on the NFLPA report card. That's basically what you want. If you're going to have that version of who the players can rally around, that's the coordinator you want right there with Bullocks, who can rally around them and be that guy where no one's going to not throw him on the bus or give him those sidewinding comments at press conferences.
What about Dave Merritt? Dave Merritt's very interesting. I like that. He's not a failed head coach like Wilkes or Brandon Staley. He comes from, he's been working with Steve Spagnuolo for a long time. He has 5 rings. He knows better than most people how to shut down the Niners offense. Mm-hmm. Taking him away from the Chiefs might hurt him. If they hire him, I would not be against it, even though he's an outsider.
I would love it because he's a DB guy. My DB bias showing. But yeah, no, that's a fantastic hire. Like when I saw that immediately,
Did he not develop Charvarius Ward? Sorry. Did he not?
Yeah.
He did.
Right. He did.
He certainly did. Yes.
Has a plethora of people under his belt that they've turned into solid players and
Jerry Sneed,
high-level all-pro players.
Well, Jerry Sneed, Trent McDuffie, like all these guys.
He's got a resume. Resume matters.
Their DBs are crazy good.
Coaches.
Yeah.
The same way it does for Bullock. But yeah, with Merritt, I quickly look. I'm like, wow, he's been in the league since 2001. Jets, Giants, Cardinals, now Chiefs. But his longest tenure was with the Giants, I think 2004 starting, 2005 starting, all the way up until like 2017. So, wow, he was there for those 2 Super Bowl runs, and he's been there with Spagnuolo for a large chunk of the time, and now he's with Spagnuolo again for the last, 2 to 3 years, and it's like, oh, or not 3 years, 4 to 5 years. And it's like, oh, I'm seeing the connection here. You're literally Steve Spagnuolo Jr. You're Spags 2.0. So Kyle Shanahan's thinking, the same breath of what can't beat them, join them. No, can't beat them, recruit them. Like number one, let me hurt you by taking away your understudy. Number two, let me get someone who's promising. I've kept going against this defense. I can't crack the code for some reason. I can't do it. Let me bring someone who is close to him, has been learning under him for so many years, abundance of years, so that I can also, number one, learn it myself, and number two, have it myself because I'm tired of this. I want that defense because for some reason it just works.
Yeah, and what's crazy is like the Niners are the way they talk. They keep trying to make it seem like they don't want to change anything about their defense. I mean, your defense is always evolving. You can't freeze it in time and keep that whatever you were doing in 2022 or whatever, and keep doing that forever. People figure it out. You got to keep evolving. So bringing in someone with fresh eyes and trusting him and not telling him what to do, I think that's the problem. Wilkes came in and he didn't really have that kind of cachet where he's like, look, I've won Super Bowls. I know what the hell I'm doing. He didn't really have that. He had gotten fired a few times. Dave Merritt's a whole different story. Like, if you bring him in, you're doing it for a specific reason because you want to be more like the Chiefs. You want to be more like Spagnuolo. And that seems like a tweak or a change that the Niners would be smart to make.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's number one. I think, honestly, if you're Kyle Shanahan, the two things you're looking for are, number one, can I trust this coach where I don't have to micromanage again? Because that's going to take away from his game planning, and it's just a hassle you don't want to deal with. And number two, like, is this guy going to get hired after 1 year? I think that's why, like, that's kind of the thing that doesn't allure you to someone like a Bill Belichick, which I know they probably did tap in the shoulder, or Mike Vrabel, or whoever. You ideally want the defensive coordinator for at least 2 seasons, right? And Bullocks and even Merritt will probably give you that for the next 2-3 years. Because the last thing the 49ers want to do is be 3 years in a row looking for a defensive coordinator, because that's annoying. I mean, John Lynch himself said it was annoying. Like, it gets annoying when all these teams keep poaching my coaches and my front office people. Like, God damn, we got to keep figuring this out. So I think that's one of the two things they're looking for. And then now once you get past that layering, it's how do we get this guy to conform? What kind of changes could he make? How much are we willing to let him change? And it's just like, Bullock's safe. Cool. We'll probably be a good defense. I don't have to really manage too much. And I know he does what we do. Merritt, okay, I get the ins and out. I take away a defense that's been bothering me for years. If we face him again in the Super Bowl or down the line in the regular season, and we could probably maybe even give us a different dynamic our defense hasn't had and make us better. It's all really about what is your willing, Kyle Shanahan.
Okay. What's interesting to me about being interested in Merritt, what did the Chiefs have tremendous success doing against the Niners in the Super Bowl 2 weeks ago on defense?
Man coverage
and pressure, right? Pressure, 5-man pressure, 6-man pressures, unblocked blitzers. Mm-hmm. Well, when Steve Wilkes came here, his reputation was a guy who liked to blitz. And halfway through the season, you had Nick Bosa being like, we're a 4-man rush team. We got to get on the same page. They didn't really let him bring pressure. It's not really what the Niners have wanted to do in the past. They've wanted to be a rush 4 play zone team. Well, the Chiefs just beat them rushing 5 and 6 and playing man. So is this a departure for the Niners? Are they trying to bring more? Are they trying to be a little bit more unpredictable with their pass rush? Because they freaking should be. Their pass rush really underperformed this last year.
It did.
So
what's another thing about Wilkes is like the times he was calling pressures, because he did in that Super Bowl and he did in games prior. It's like, dude, like why is one side we're watching the Chiefs pressures so effective, but yours is not generating jack anything? Like nothing.
That is true. They really weren't effective.
He was literally calling vanilla blitzes that you probably get off the video game Madden. I'm literally sitting up there, Grant. I'm literally sitting up there in the Ox press box. I'm like, I know that's Engage 8. And for all the viewers, like you guys know what Engage 8, where you send everyone and you have 3 players playing coverage. That's what we call the Hail Mary of defense. Like, that's what he was calling. And it's just literally just straightforward. There was no stunts. There was no, what's that package the Niners like to call that people like to flex about? NASCAR, whatever hell it's called. Dude, everything just kind of felt just like, where's the delay? Where is it? It just felt vanilla, where this guy, it's like so tricky. You had McDuffie, like, who's blitzing last minute, making it look like he's covering Aiyuk, and it's like, hey, I want that. Like,
I want that.
And I think it goes back to
home 9 times in the Super Bowl. Come to our team. Wow, incredible.
Selective play calling, it matters, and that's also an issue of Kyle Shanahan. That's what we give a lot of critiquing to Kyle Shanahan sometimes. It's like we want to run or pass, but be selective with it. Know the situation, know what's going on in the game. That's something that I don't think Wilkes understood. It's like, And again, back to the Vikings game, you're running cover 0 all out blitz at the end of the half. Like, that's not the time and the place. And especially that kind of design where it's just, all right, everyone just run a straight line, go to the quarterback, figure it out. This guy was over here making them do delayed stuff, making them shoot different lanes, giving them different looks, like so much shape shifting that's what you want. You want to disguise these guys, you want to confuse them. That's all it's about. I mean, and the hell, it worked in the final Niners play. They confused the hell out of them, and that's what caused them to lose the Super Bowl, essentially.
Can I point something out? Sack percentage. Percentage of the opponent's dropbacks that end up in a sack. Niners defense, 20th out of 32 teams last season. Chiefs defense,
4th.
3rd.
Oh, I was close.
There you go. The Niners are so invested in the pass rush. It's the engine of everything they do. And it really was subpar this year, despite being expensive as hell. Okay, well, now you're going to bring in a guy who knows how to manufacture pressure and just comes from a defense that was great at it last year. It makes sense to me. I really wouldn't be surprised if they hired Dave Merritt. I think it'd be a good hire. Because the thing about it is, if they hire Dave Merritt, you still have Daniel Bullocks. He's not going anywhere. He's still on the staff.
That's true.
Sorry. Yeah.
No, it's true.
So,
I just wonder if I just wonder what the drawback is. Like, obviously, he's a minority coach. Like are these guys trying to fill a void in or something like that? I don't think so. I think it's like a double dip. It's like, hey, it addresses the Rooney Rule, and also this guy's probably legit. Like, honestly, in my head, I was like, dude, I don't care. Like, look at his background. Like, that sounds alluring to me. Like, I'm like, shoot, if you gave him and my guy Bullocks didn't get him, like, hey, that's fine. I totally get your logic. Like, again,
he's like 15 years older than Bullocks. It makes sense.
Three times out of the last 4 years, 5 years, this Chiefs defense under Spags, including that regular season, has literally just mollywopped you guys, has made you guys non-factors on offense. Didn't matter who you had. It's just the brains behind it. And you're going to hope that Spags 2.0 will have most of that, if not like relative of it. And you get that, my God, it's going to be the strength of the defense again. I mean, the defense is going to be the strength of the 49ers again.
Yep. Connor N says, if our problem is getting over the hump, we're not going to do it by being control freaks.
Sure, yeah.
Merritt is nice.
Yeah. Just know your role. Focus on what you do best, Don't be over there mitigating like what's called micromanaging. Like that's not what's going to work. That only works for the CEO head coaches, right? Not for the guy who literally calls the plays on offense.
Yeah. Yeah. And what's nice too is like they could go up to Travarius Ward. So Travarius, what do you know about Dave Merritt? He knows them a lot. He knows Dave Merritt a whole lot better than Kyle does. And he might be like, look, Daniel Bullocks is great, but this Dave Merritt guy is the next Spagnuolo. He's a genius. I don't know what he would say, but
that would be huge to keep. That'd be huge to keep away from the full on outsider look, right? Because you have pretty much your ambassador, your representative. Like, dude, I was with this guy for 3-4 years, well, not 4 years, but like 2-3 years. This guy's the man, and it's like, okay, Travarius says it, and we know it comes from the Chiefs. Like, okay, that's a little more respect. Where again, like you said a minute ago, like with Wilkes, it's like he has tenure, which is cool, but where has he really had like a stretch of success at? Like that he stayed. Like the guy is literally like a one-shot pistol, or like where you just one shot, he's out, and he's already on a different team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we figured that one out. Let's check out BetUS's odds to win the NFC next year. Niners odds on favorite plus 225. That means if you put down $100, you win 225. Lions at plus 550. Eagles at plus 700. Cowboys at plus 700. Packers at plus 1,000. Rams at plus 1,400. Wow. And then after that, it's just a trash conference. Bears, Falcons, Vikings, Buccaneers, Seahawks, Saints, Cardinals, Commanders, Giants. Just trash. Plus 12. Like, you're not even a professional team, but we're not here to talk about them. What do you think about the Niners being the odds on favorites? Hey, if you think the Lions are the team, now's a good time to wager on them, because they're going to make some big moves in free agency, and their odds are going to get worse. I mean, better. I mean,
do they have a good amount of cap space too? Like top 10 or something?
They do. It's the truth.
Meanwhile, the 49ers are 5 over.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would go with the Packers just because.
Plus 1,000? Yeah.
Jordan Love, I get like, you put a little something small, like that's nice. I'm trying to look for something value. It's mainly on the premise of like, it's kind of hard for me to imagine the Niners are going to get back to the Super Bowl again after so much heartbreak. I feel like the odds are going to be against them by default. And just, I don't know, man, just that heartbreak and trying to pick up the shattered pieces. Whereas the Packers, like, you guys remember that feeling? Upsetting the Cowboys, almost beating the Niners on the road winning back-to-back on the road, another underdog story. Jordan Love getting better. Different defensive coordinator. Get a couple pieces on defense. Give them one nice polished receiver. I think they're going to be top 3 NFC team. If you get that done, I would love those chances, those odds.
Vikings are interesting too, considering they beat the Niners. But I don't know who their quarterback's going to be. It could be Cousins. Could be Cousins, but I don't know. That'll be interesting to see where he goes. But it really feels like it's Niners line. What about the Rams?
I would not hate the Rams. That's excellent too. I mean, you talk about a team
you have the best quarterback in the conference.
Yeah.
Plus 1,400 when you get the best quarterback in the conference. So just to show, I don't think they're going to let me put $100 on this. No.
Yeah,
they'll let me put 50 though.
Rob. Anytime odds are huge, you can't really put too much of something crazy. Sometimes you can.
Yeah. What is going on? Got deleted? I'm trying to place this wager, guys. Hold on. I gotta get this. This is important. I think as really we were talking, important.
They're like, wait a second, why do we have?
Let's look at AFC first.
They're making a good point.
Chiefs, Ravens, Bengals, Bills, Dolphins, Jets, Texans, then Chargers.
I would not be mad at the Chargers with Harbaugh.
This is just a brutal conference. The Browns are down here. Colts, Steelers. Like, my goodness, this conference is loaded. The Steelers are all the way down here.
350?
What's that?
The Chiefs are plus 350?
Yeah.
What the?
In the AFC.
I mean, that kind of. I'm sorry. That's always an easy one for me. For me, my logic is, wait, I'm going to get nice odds on one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time and head coaches of all time. Like, that's an easy sign up. Like, I can't take the Ravens seriously. Chargers would be a nice, puncher's chance.
I just put $50 on the Rams just to be a jerk.
Huh?
$50 on the Rams to win 700. Why not?
Why not?
You like that action? Go over to Bet US. Hold on, I got the rest over here for you. Just a second.
Bet US, America's favorite sports book, where you can bet on everything, anytime. Sportsbook, casino, horse racing, live betting, and more. We have the best bonuses in the industry. That's right, get a 125% sign-up bonus. And to celebrate our 30-year anniversary, we are giving up to 30 risk-free bets, a truck, Super Bowl tickets, and more. Don't miss out. Play smart. Join now. BetUS, where the game begins.
All right, let's talk expectations for free agency. What do you think the Niners are going to do? It starts in a few weeks. They could trade for L'Jarius Sneed. They could sign a tight. I mean, they made a big move last year in Javon Hargrave. The Lions are going to be making a big move. They haven't won a Super Bowl. What do you think? They're just going to work around the edges or do something unexpected?
I feel like it's going to be a very boring free agency period from them because they are currently above $5 million over the cap. And I think that's even with the bump they got from the extra like 15, 16 million from salary cap raises. So I'm wondering, like, what the hell are you guys going to mitigate here? What are you going to configure? How are you going to do that? And I just don't think your answers are in free agency. You guys keep going that route, and it's been nice in terms of like, okay, we got a nice little anchor in the middle with Hargrave. He's fairly impactful. Ward has probably been their best free agent signing in the last 4 years because he's an All-Pro now. I'm thinking like the only thing I'm looking at free agency, number one, is don't address like obviously your top need. That's never it. But you can probably look for like maybe like your third, fourth, or fifth need. And the need they have is that linebacker with Jerry Greenlaw, torn Achilles, mending it right now. I would like to bring back Aziz Al-Shahir. You know how much? I don't think he signed for that much last year. He came on the Titans signed him to a 1-year deal. And it's not like he had a better season than any time against the 49ers. He's still a good linebacker. And I think that would make perfect sense. You know, if you're not feeling comfortable with those young linebackers, D. Winters, Jalen Graham and such, or you don't want to draft someone, then, hey, I have an idea. Let's bring in a guy who probably won't cost too much. Plug and play, literally only takes a couple of weeks of practice to reintegrate him with us, and we're all good. And then Dre comes back. Now we have a great array of 3 linebackers, and we don't have to feel forced to bring Dre Greenlaw out. Whether if we got Graham or Winters or whoever young linebacker you guys sign, you might feel a little skittish. Like after like a month or two of playing, it's like, I can't really trust this guy. And now all of a sudden you feel forced to bring Greenlaw back. And at least Al-Shahir, you have that comfort in your head, that confidence knowing that he could be there and he'll be fine. So I think that's where you should kind of look at in terms of addressing a free agency.
The thing about Al-Shahir, though, is he went over to Tennessee and messed around and got 163 tackles last year. Like, he had more tackles than Roquan Smith and C.J. Mosley and Fred Warner and Levine. Like, he killed it. So I don't know that the Niners can afford him.
Yeah.
And I don't really know what the feelings are like between those two sides. I mean, I think he felt like he never really got a shot. And then when he got a shot in Tennessee.
On Instagram, that nice little shout out to the 49ers, like a little highlight play with the 49ers.
Yeah.
And he showed up in NFC Championship game. So I think that relationship is nice and dandy.
I feel like they're going to take a linebacker with that pick in round 1. That's my prediction. I think they're going to get a D end in free agency. I feel like that's their number 1 priority, D end. And that the D ends you get at the end of round 1 aren't necessarily locks, but you can get proven guys in free agency all the time. Someone better than Chase Young. I don't have a name. Daniil Hunter. They could get him. Maybe he's too expensive.
Yeah, too expensive. I haven't really looked too heavily into the.
There you go, Spurs, and get Brian Burns. I mean, forget it, right?
This is where their salary cap constraints really like make it hard to get so heavily invested in free agency, especially given where they're already tied up with other players. It's not so much that they don't really need that big splash in free agency. It's the draft that's really been killing them. Like the last 2 years, the forfeiting of first round picks, the lack of hits that you've gotten outside of Jair Brown and Brock Purdy, like that's where you really need to hit it. And the fact that it's like now nicely that they have a first round pick back, it's like easier to get into the draft again. Now it's like free agency, like this is their draft year versus free agency year. I think that's what I'm trying to look at, like maybe like you mentioned, like Aziz having those 160 plus tackles. You know, I think it's a little different when you're in that full-time starting role as opposed to being like the second or third guy. And also it also different, you know, when you're the Titans having to like defeat leads and like come back. So I think it could be dual. Maybe you guys penny pinch, and that's like your big splash of the offseason, and the rest you just fill in as like little measly depth pieces.
What about sign Dave Merritt, trade for L'Jarius Sneed?
He wants an extension, which I guess it would work because it wouldn't affect this year's cap. Oh, but they franchised him.
So you have to trade a first round pick for him, huh? But then you could trade McCaffrey, get that first round pick back.
This guy. Who's your running back? Elijah Mitchell last year deal?
Yeah. Jordan Mason.
The offensive player of the year?
It's really pissed off the fan base. What do you say? Hey guys, guess what? McCaffrey's gone. It's okay though. Don't worry.
We got a good corner. You guys are gonna be crying. We're winning 23. We're winning 20-10 games every game. Yeah, free agency is just a little weird this year because didn't
Mike Shanahan do that when I was in high school? Did he not trade Clinton Portis for Champ Bailey? Did he not do that? He did, right?
That was at a time where running backs were more valuable too.
Am I tripping? I don't know.
Okay, but that's Champ freaking Bailey.
I expect them to do something because the Lions are going to do something. The Eagles are going to do something. The Niners can't just sit back and act like they're way that much further. They want how much they beat the Lions by? 3?
Barely.
Barely. They freaking barely beat the Lions
at home.
They gotta be aggressive here because the Lions will be. But the Lions are aggressive and the Niners kind of aren't by nature.
I feel like my expectation for free agency has got to be something trade oriented. Like literally, we're gonna feel something similar to like DeForest Buckner type of. Now I don't know if that's gonna be Brandon Aiyuk, but it's gonna be somebody, and it probably should be somebody. I think that's gonna be your only way to recruit picks or get someone that can give you that immediate impact this year.
Is Brandon Aiyuk untouchable?
No, no. How is he? How can you ever consider a Niners player untouchable after what they did to DeForest Buckner? Like they literally said he's going nowhere. Then 3 weeks later, oh, well, you see, guys, about that. I was just kidding. So, no, he's not untouchable. The fact that he's a wide receiver makes him more of a commodity to want to trade. You know, you got tied up money with Deebo Samuel. Juwan Jennings is going to probably get paid $5 million because I don't see how the 49ers aren't going to put a second round tender on him. I don't know if they should, you know, especially if you want to extend Aiyuk, you know, giving $5 million to your number 3 wide receiver, who's your 5th or 6th best feature option, is a little weird, who had 19 catches last year. But yeah, with Aiyuk, it's like, what is it? Wide receiver is not a top 5 critical position. Offensive line, defensive line, cornerback, and obviously quarterback, but we're not worried about quarterback this year for once. So those are your areas of critical importance, and that happens to be one of your top needs. I'm pretty sure trading Aiyuk could supplement those areas for someone more prominent that can get you someone to help 2024 immediately, like a nice pick this year. Because look, wide receiver is a place where you really could mitigate some of those losses. And that's what, if anything, that's the Super Bowl has taught me is the Niners would be better off with great trench warfare than having a great array of skill position players, because they already have a great array of skill position players. They couldn't really do much with them. It was that offensive line that really got exposed. So if Aiyuk can give you that edge at the offensive line and maybe elsewhere, that's probably the case that you would go. I don't know if I would advocate for it. Yeah, I'm still trying to process if I would advocate for that trade, but he's by far no means untouchable, and they definitely are going to consider something.
I think the thing that sucks about trading Aiyuk or thinking about it is like he's the last guy you'd want to trade. He's the youngest of the position players, of the skill position players. He's still improving. He's the cheapest. I'd want to keep him. I mean, I know he's going to get expensive, but I know also financially it's the easiest to move him. It's harder to move Debo. You get all that dead cap. Still, I'm really uncomfortable with trading Brandon Aiyuk. It just seems like it's going to blow up in your face. Now, what would he be worth?
I guess you got to start looking at who's actually can need a wide receiver, right? And if you're one of those probably teams picking close, I mean, you're not going to get a top 10 pick for him, but maybe say like you're picking around 15. I've seen mention of like the Las Vegas Raiders, right? Because I'm pretty sure Antonio Pierce and the Raiders are going to try to do whatever they can to take Jaden Daniels, the Arizona State connection. And I'm sure he's probably thinks fondly of Aiyuk too, right? And then hometown kid. I just don't know how it's going to work with like wait, you're going to trade up all this assets for this guy and then try to figure out. So look, to me, if you're getting 20 or higher for Aiyuk, it's not worth it. And I'd even argue 15 or higher. It had to be somewhere in the 10-15 range that you would have to consider. Because at that point, it's like, wait, you're going to trade Aiyuk for the same value you got him for 4 years ago? That doesn't make sense. And how does that help you now? I'm thinking if you are going to trade him, if they go that route, this is not the year to trade him. You do what the Chiefs are trying to do now. You franchise tag him and then try to trade him. Or you franchise tag him, then try to work out a deal. That'd probably be the best way. Because then what is it? Like I keep hearing constantly, like after this year, then Debo's contract becomes more friendly to move in a deal. So that might be the way to go. But in terms of a trade right now, yeah, that's a little hard to stomach. Because like you said, Aiyuk is ascending. He keeps getting better every year and year. He's proven it. And really his game out of all the players who are elite on the 49ers offense is the most sustainable long term. He doesn't get hurt. It's everything you want to invest in. But you know what? The 49ers kind of did do this themselves. Like a year or two ago when me and you were debating all the time about, is Debo Samuel worth it? How much is he going to get? Should they trade him? Like you push back on, like, look, like I get paying him. He's coming off of an elite magical unicorn year, but is he really a guy that you want to invest heavily in? And look, because you did that, now it's kind of hurting. It's putting you in a little weird spot with Aiyuk now and to move other players. But so they, in a way, they kind of made their own bed.
Well, let's bring it back. The reason we're talking about this is because the Buckner trade happened. So why did they trade Buckner? They thought that Buckner thought he was better than he was. Buckner essentially said, I want $20 million a year. And at that time, the only D tackle that was making more than $20 million a year was Donald. That was Donald money. And I think the Niners, they didn't draft him. They weren't invested. They disagreed that he was worth Donald money. And then Eric Armstead, they didn't want that kind of money. So I think it was this whole dispute, like he's who does he think he is? He's not that great. I don't think they have that sort of dispute with Brandon Aiyuk. They say all the right things about him. They drafted him. He exceeded expectations. He's tough. He's graceful. He does everything. So when they get to negotiations, I don't think they're going to be that far apart to the point where, like with Buckner, I think in maybe the year before they knew like this just isn't going to happen, man. But with Aiyuk, I think it'll take until August, like it always does. But he's going to be here unless they thought they could get a top 10 pick, which they won't.
But isn't at that time, like Buckner's living on record saying like, yeah, I would have taken less, but I think he even offered it. And I don't think that situation was weird. But at least Aiyuk, I'm just looking at it from a positional standpoint, like what you can do for your needs. And he's not untouchable. I would like it. I would prefer they would keep him because it's also an investment in Purdy. That way you keep Purdy playing at a high level. You know, you don't want to be looking for your new quarterback in the next year or two. And if you do, then at least like Brandon Aiyuk could maybe slow down any type of downward spiral he could be on in the future. Like he's your great security blanket. And he did what he did this year amazingly at an all-pro level with limited targets.
Yeah. They're not trading him. I got a bonus question for you. Does Brock Purdy need to run more? Or not even does he need to? Do they need to like call some runs for him? Because the way I look at it is he's not super fast, but neither is Patrick Mahomes. And Mahomes' weapons are a huge, legs are a huge weapon, not just on scrambles, but when they were backs against the wall, got to have it drive. There was the zone read and the scramble. Like that was a big weapon in their arsenal because it's like the last thing you account for. I think Purdy could be in the same boat and really be interesting if instead of just like dropping back and throwing on 3rd and 4, those 2 3rd and 4s, they'd done something like what the Chiefs did. Call a zone read. I mean, it would have been wide open. Is that something they can incorporate, or is he not built for that?
I like it. I will say he's not built for that physically because when Mahomes takes a shot, like you're not worried where this guy takes a shot. It's like, didn't he have like 3 stingers last year? 2 stingers and a concussion. Like, with him, it's like, when he takes a hit, it's always like you gotta like when that cold water touches the back of your neck. But I think in terms of him running more, I like the idea when it's like a gotta win game or a playoff game, which, essentially gotta win game. But I like that idea. Not for like, it's like week 4 against the Commanders or something like that. But like, yeah, week 16, win to get in, or wild card round against the Cowboys. Like, yeah, I would like 1 or 2 of those. Because what was it about that Mahomes conversion on 4th and 1 or 4th and 3, whatever it was, that really stumped the 49ers? They hadn't run that play. So it's like, hey, we know we can do this. Let's just call it. They haven't seen it. And it's so easy for me to call. We know Mahomes is good enough to do that, make the right choice. And Purdy's as fast, if not faster, than Mahomes to do it. So, yeah, I would like to see those in those situations, those must-win games. Got to have them. Call them. Don't call them regularly, Don't do that. But, yeah, call them. Make sure. I wouldn't mind seeing those 5 to 8 in the season.
The thing that I like about the zone read as a play is, like, you don't build your offense around it. But when you got to have a first down,
yes,
it's a great play. From 2, 3, 4, like 1, 2, 3 yards out, it's a great play. And it seems like it's a weapon the Niners could use. Unused weapons the Niners have at their disposal. That fake punts with Mitch Wishnowsky. I mean, why? They should do that. He's too good. You can't stop him. He's that good.
They just got to start letting him go AWOL and just call the fake punts himself. That's what he did last time, and it was so successful. But with running more of Purdy, I really just want them to really understand, do it when the situation is necessary. Again, not like a week 7 game against Chicago Bears. Because remember, the Super Bowl year, last year, or 2022, Eagles, didn't Hurts like break his shoulder or do something that he got injured because it was like a week 15, 16 game against the I actually think it was against the Bears or the Commanders, against a below poor team picking top 5 in a game that wasn't even must win. They pretty much had, I think the 1 seed locked up. Why were they running him so many times? Like, I don't get that. Like, don't be smart with your plays that are high risk. I get it. I get the idea. Just don't be scared. But in those games, like, again, like playoff Super Bowl, or like, look, week 12, we got to win it seeding. Like, I get it. Like, it's justifiable if he gets hurt. But those ones where it's like, again, like these measly opponents, you're already things like, come on, don't be that dumb. Don't be that reckless. So just be smart with it. And that's where these plays will become very efficient. Otherwise, you're just going to look like a moron.
And what's crazy is like that play, the Niners sort of look down their nose at it like it's not real football, the zone read. Okay. The Chiefs used it and it beat you in the Super Bowl. Also, like, you can't defend it. You've never been able to defend it. How'd you lose week 18 to the Rams? You were doing great. Now, it was your backups and all that, but it felt like foreshadowing. They brought in the second half, the Rams were like, oh, yeah, Niners can't stop the zone read. So we're going to run it with slow ass Carson Wentz. No offense to Carson, but they did. And it totally put the Niners on their heels and they won. And then in the Super Bowl, when the Chiefs had to have it. Boom. So that's what I like about the play. You do it when you least expect it.
Yes.
And with a quarterback like Brock Purdy, those are game-winning plays. Like, you got to call it. Oh, it's your team.
I don't think defenses are going to ever plan for it, even if the Niners do show it like a handful of times during the season. Because it's like, what are the odds it's going to be this play? Purdy, Because, I mean, it's already been duly noted that he could scramble and, like, make plays happen out of the back of his pocket. But what if he just tucks it and run? Like, it's that little curveball. It's going to be like, where the hell did this come from? Now all of a sudden you got another thing you got to account for, or they probably don't account for, which I don't think any team will account for it unless they run it heavily. So boom, advantage for you.
That's another reason to trade Christian McCaffrey. He doesn't need the best check down weapon in the league. A guy like Jared Goff needs that. He's the check down.
Trade him to Detroit.
He's faster than Lamar Jackson. They said it on Reddit.
He's ass fast or something like that. Whatever.
All right. That's all I got for today.
2024, guys. Make sure we do this. We all have.
That's all I got for today, man. There's not a lot of Niner stuff going on. Is there anything else in your mind you want to talk about before we bounce?
Google is free.
What?
Google is free, so you don't
Google.
fall into that little category of doing stupid stuff. Like, Jesus. No, nothing else, Snyder. That's what Scott comments all about, right?
Yeah.
It's just pretty much prospects. It's kind of hard. Okay, wait. Do you think the Niners are going to trade up from 31? Do you think they have to? Do you think they have to?
No, they don't have to. It'd be interesting. It'd be aggressive. Depends on what they get. If they trade up for I'm gonna find a way to not like what they do. I already know. I can't figure out what they're gonna do, but when they do it, I'm not gonna like it.
I'm just wondering if I'm gonna have like a spot on prediction of them drafting a kicker again, because I can't believe I got that one right. Like I wouldn't
be surprised if they did it again.
No, they're not gonna draft a kicker. You think they're gonna take a running back again? Because it worked out so well the last 2 years.
Well, they're gonna trade McCaffrey, so possibly.
Future starting running back of the Eagles, Ty Davis Price. That's so nuts to me. Like, how did you guys? And then I remember last year after the draft, Kyle Shanahan really said like, "Oh, well, now you guys can't cry about me like taking a running back. I took a kicker." It's like, okay, Kyle, because that's much better. Because that's much.
Yeah, and a tight end who didn't make the team.
I'm convinced. Yeah, I'm convinced this guy literally treats the drafts when he's actually involved, which is obviously day 1 and day 2, as like a trolling method. I mean, he is. That's why he doesn't go to the scouting combine. Back to the first topic, he's not over there taking this seriously. He doesn't care.
I think Kyle takes great pleasure in doing the opposite of what people say he should do.
Mac Jones.
Everyone thinks I'm going to do this, so I'm going to do this.
Run a lot, comes out pass happy, and empty gun.
3rd and 4 at the end. Everyone thinks I'm going to hand off to McCaffrey, so I'm going to fake the handoff to McCaffrey and throw to Jawan Jennings. Genius.
If he really wanted to be crazy, he would just punt it one day on first down just to do it. Just really.
Or line up in punt formation first down. Fake it. Fake the punt. Fake punt on first down. Who else would do that? No one. That's why it would work.
Chestnut checkers, baby.
Exactly. Thanks for watching, everyone. I'll be back when you least expect it. Thank you, Jose.
When you least